Good evening, I'm Leonardo Puglisi. This is 6 News. Tonight, Victoria's coronavirus nightmare. More people test positive for COVID-19, with fears that the state could be headed for a second wave, this coming as global cases past 10 million. Also, Scott Morrison's approval rating now at the highest since he came to power, but the coalition's primary vote is still unchanged. Donald Trump deletes a tweet in which one of his supporters yells out "white power" in a rare move for the US president. Tonight's Twitter poll: was The Simpsons ending the use of white actors voicing people of colour an unnecessary step? Will show you the results. And at the very last minute, community TV saved, with Channel 31 and 44 Adelaide both set to continue into 2021. 6 News starts now. Thanks for joining us. We're continuing to follow the latest developments on the coronavirus pandemic as we go to air, as cases continue to spike in Victoria despite the toughest restrictions in the country. On Monday, 75 new cases were confirmed in the state, compared to just 7 in New South Wales on the same day. Paramedic from Ambulance Victoria also tested positive, although it's believed they did not catch the virus on the job. And up north, Anastasia Palaszczuk told Queenslanders not to travel to the state and said any Victorians entering would either be turned away or have to pay for 14 days in mandatory hotel quarantine.
Can I just urge all Queenslanders, this is very serious. Please do not go to Victoria. Please do not go to Victoria. Stay in Queensland.
And our political commentator Jim Sharp joins me now live. Great talking to you, Jim. Now, you're in Perth, where they've done a pretty good job containing the virus so far. What do you make of all the extra cases in Victoria?
Well, it's pretty serious, isn't it? It's to me, it's quite concerning. I don't know whether you can see this, but this is the headline. This is today's local paper, the Western Australian, and you'll see that headline there. Gives you a bit of an idea of Victoria. Did you actually see that down the bottom there? Victoria. So that's the sort of what I consider to be unhealthy reaction that the problems in Victoria are evoking. It's a bit of a pity, because being a person who was born in Victoria and lived there for quite a few years, and now having moved to WA, I can see it from both angles. And it just seems to me as though it's causing division, and we don't seem to be reacting to the crisis as a country, but rather as individual states. And in the words underneath that headline, it talks about how our Premier Mark McGowan says the Victorian situation vindicates, the tough approach that WA's taken to its borders. So it seems to me to be a bit of an unhealthy fortress type reaction to what's a national problem, or should be a national problem.
Alright, moving on. Scott Morrison's approval rating has risen to 68% compared to Anthony Albanese's 27%. This is the highest amount since he became PM in 2018, but the coalition's primary vote is still unchanged at a 51-49 lead. Jim, what do you make of all this?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's pretty narrow, but I mean, his preferred Prime Minister rating is stratospheric when you consider that he was something like 40% just a few months ago in February, and now he's up there at 58% of people saying he makes the better PM, whereas poor old Albo is down to about 26%. I think there's a lot of, and that's, as you say, well, I think there are a number of factors in it.
Yeah, and quickly before I let you go, Donald Trump, he's deleted a tweet in which one of his supporters yelled out "white power." Take a look.
White power! Yes, there you go, white power. You hear that?
Now, the White House Deputy Press Secretary has since come out, said the president didn't realise the racist language was included in the video, but many think he did it deliberately and that he did know. What do you think?
Well, look, there can really only be two explanations. And one is the one that I suppose the anti-Trump school accepts, and that is that he's lying and that he was doing it to do a little bit of whistleblowing or race baiting. Or the other explanation is that he's pretty thick. If he didn't actually notice that those words being shouted out and understand how detrimental those words are. Anyone who's had a look at that video, they cut those shouts of white power come on very early in the video, and they're pretty hard not to hear. So it seems to me, either way, it just highlights the concern over Trump's fitness for office. Either he's a liar and was doing it for bad reasons, or lacks the power of concentration. We shouldn't have a president tweeting stuff out like that to a global audience when he doesn't even know what's in the tweet, if that's what he wants us to believe.
All right, we'll leave it there, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
And as we just mentioned, the testing blitz continues in Victoria with 10 hotspot suburbs targeted by authorities. Lincoln Holmes has the details.
For many, this is how Thursday morning started.
He works one of the reasons why you can be out and about, so that's all good.
This blitz is all a part of Operation Sanus to stop people from leaving coronavirus hotspots like Broadmeadows for non-essential reasons.
Where we will be, they will not know how long we will be there for.
I think it's going to make people actually stay home.
If you claim to be going to work when we intercept you, there'll be further questioning of that. There'll be ascertaining of where you're going to work.
The only reasons for people to leave their homes in the coronavirus hotspots include essential shopping, exercise, work or studying if it cannot be done at home.
Police are very good at understanding where they're being lied to. It's an indictable offence. It's in the Crimes Act. You can go to jail for 10 years.
I've got a number of communities that I know are doing it really tough, and I know that they have a huge amount of frustration.
Lincoln Holmes, 6 News.
Checking some other stories making news tonight, and Australia has launched a massive cyber army only days after an attack allegedly carried out by China. The $1.35 billion injection will see 500 spies recruited to protect the nation from state-sponsored hackers. The government has also spent big on our defence force with a $270 billion cash splash aimed at protecting Australia's future, according to the PM. Also making news, a policeman is lucky to be alive after narrowly being missed during a multi-car crash in New South Wales. The officer was standing at the side of the road when a semi-trailer rammed into the back of the tow truck in front, with the officer almost hit by both vehicles when running out of the way. Incredible there. And Channel 9 has launched an attack ad directly targeting their rivals, Channel 7. The ad was made in response to 7 axing their local afternoon news in South Australia, with it now being produced in Melbourne. Take a look.
News made in Melbourne?
10 Melbourne postcode.
Or 9 News made in Adelaide for Adelaide. Weekdays at 5.
First in Adelaide's 9 News at 5.
Nightly at 6.
Good evening, one of South Australia.
To tonight's Twitter poll, and we're asking, was The Simpsons ending the use of white actors to voice characters of colour an unnecessary move? On Twitter, the results were pretty even. 53% of you said you agree it was unnecessary. 47% rather say it was a necessary step. The decision was made in response to the backlash of characters like Apu, and also this happening in similar shows. Family Guy decided to make the move as well, to not have characters of colour being voiced by white actors. I'm going to take a quick break now, but coming up next on 6 News we'll have some details on a developing story, plus India bans TikToks amid rising tensions with China. Also, Donald Trump asks, where's Roger Ailes, despite the fact he actually died 3 years ago. And later, Channel 31 saved at the 11th hour with a 12-month extension given to community television. Stay with us.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight, and David Robinson.
Ben, Robbo, news, reviews, entertainment news. It's the Ben, Robbo, Show.
The Ben, Rob and Robbo Show, Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m, right here on Ticker TV.
Welcome back, you're watching 6 News. We have some developing news now, and Vic Roads has moved to stop a surge in people changing their addresses on their driver's licences to avoid lockdowns and COVID-19 testings if they're in those 10 Melbourne hotspot suburbs. Currently, there is no proof to change a licence address online. With the changes made instantly, those who break the rules now face fines of up to $825 if caught. Checking some stories making news overseas now, and India has moved to ban Chinese-owned apps, including Tik Tok. The move comes amid rising border tensions with China. There are now 11.9 million users of the app in India, with some TikTok stars in India now facing uncertain futures. Also making news, at least 370 people have been arrested in Hong Kong after massive demonstrations on the streets, with thousands, opposing a new national security law from China. And Donald Trump has been mocked on Twitter after he appeared to ask the former Fox News CEO Roger Ailes for help, even though Ailes died 3 years ago. Trump followed that up following that heavy backlash with a tweet saying, "We all miss Roger." The federal government has saved Channel 31 at the 11th hour with a 12-month extension given to the station, as well as Adelaide's Channel 44. Minister for Communications Paul Fletcher, who has been slammed over the past months for not contacting either stations, made the announcement on the ABC's Q&A program Monday night. Some say, however, it's not enough, with many saying that it will be the same situation this time next year. In sport, footy fans have mourned the loss of one of the most influential people in AFL history, John Kennedy Sr., who captained and coached Hawthorn, dying aged 91 last week. Devastated fans placed cards and flowers on his iconic statue at Waverley Park, but due to the current COVID-19 restrictions, the number of physical attendees at his Thursday funeral was strictly limited. Kennedy had just become an official legend in the AFL Hall of Fame only weeks before he passed away peacefully. And staying with the AFL, all 10 Victorian clubs will be moved interstate, with no game set to be played in Victoria in the near future. North Melbourne, Richmond, Essendon, the Bulldogs, Carlton and St Kilda will go to Queensland, being based in either the Gold Coast or the Sunshine Coast. Hawthorn and Melbourne will move to New South Wales, and Collingwood and Geelong will go over to WA. Checking the weather map, Brisbane 21, Sydney 16, Canberra 12, Melbourne 14, Adelaide also 14, Perth light rain 17, Darwin 31, Townsville 24, Wollongong 16, Ballarat 11, Bendigo 13 and Hobart 12 degrees. And remember to DM us with your weather picks as well. Before we go tonight, a UK newsreader has gone viral after her young son interrupted a live cross on Sky News. Take a look.
Minister David Cameron was talking about... Oh, I'm really sorry, that's my son arriving.
Really?
Sorry, really embarrassed. Sorry.
So sorry.
Hold on 1 second.
Can I
Sorry.
have 2 biscuits?
Yes, you can have 2 biscuits. I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah, OK, well, we'll leave Deborah Haynes in full flow there with some family duties, but that's what happens during lockdown and trying to report in lockdown.
I'm glad none of that has happened here yet. That is 6 News for this Sunday evening. You can stay up to date on all our social pages at 6 News AU. Remember, if you're watching via Mel Feed video, stick around. Up next is Nat Chat, followed by a double episode of Harmony and Diversity at 8:30. Then at 9:30, it's Spirit of Life. I'm Leonardo Puglisi. Thanks for your company. Good night.
Thank you.